Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here from Planet Destiny with some rather interesting Destiny 2 PvP news for you today. Now, recently the website dailystar.co.uk was able to sit down with Bungie's Crucible design lead, Lars Bakken, and talk quite a bit about some of the changes coming to the Crucible environment in Destiny 2. They spoke about the change of fireteam size, tweaking Trials of Osiris, whether or not they'd open a PC public test region, a PTR server for those who don't know, or if they'll approach esports, and even more. So over the course of this video, we're going to be discussing some of the questions and answers that we got from that interview. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in. Now, the start of the interview focuses on some of the things we already know, the importance of the change from 6-person fire teams to 4-man fire teams throughout all PvP game modes, and of course how that's going to affect some of the higher end game modes from Destiny 1, like Trials of Osiris. And the first question comes off like this. You've made the move to 4v4 Crucible game modes, and in the case of something like Control, it's completely different. How do you approach something like Control when you're changing it so significantly? To which Lars answered, "So you're right, this is 4v4 across everywhere, and players will find that there will be changes to existing game modes that come back. We can't talk all about that today, but we're looking forward to people finding out about these things. With the changes to Control, it fundamentally changes a bunch of stuff, and we knew it would do that. But when we do these things, it's to make the whole experience holistically feel correct." Lars went on to state that it's really a combination of being like, hey, some of these things don't work well anymore, and maybe we need to redesign them and bring them back later. Or these things totally work, but we need to change some of the fundamental design aspects of them to make it still feel like the thing you're used to in Destiny 1. Because ultimately that change from 6v6 to 4v4 as a standard is going to be a very different experience in a lot of the game modes. If you guys got to play the Destiny 2 beta, you can tell Control feels very different. It's a lot faster, especially with the way they've changed spawns, the way that they have changed the way home points work where you no longer have to catch them. It's just a lot faster of a game mode. Moving on, the Daily Star asked, "Okay, exactly, so you've reworked Trials, which is now 4v4, but how does that change the dynamic?" To which Lars answered, "Trials is different. I'm not going to talk too much about any of the nuances of what's different, but it's coming back, and the biggest change is the 4v4 change. Oh, there are other changes too, but I believe people will be blown away when they see the Trials stuff. I wish I could talk more about it." Confirming, of course, that not only is Trials of Osiris returning, it is going to have that same 4v4 mode that the regular PvP is going to have, and a couple of extra changes alongside that. Then, interestingly, the questions turned to something that was a little bit surprising to me. They began to ask about other game modes and whether or not they would be returning. And they said, "Are you going to be looking at how you can rework those larger Crucible games like Rumble and Clash, which were 6v6, or are they gone completely?" To which Lars answered, "It's gone," giving us the notion that game modes like that, Clash and Rumble, might be completely gone from Destiny 2, which is a real surprise to me. Clash was just the de facto team deathmatch mode, the most basic of PvP modes that's available in basically every first-person shooter, and Rumble, of course, being a free-for-all game, was a very fun game mode. And so hearing that it might just be completely gone in Destiny 2 definitely caught me a little bit by surprise. And if that does wind up being the case in the full game, that's a big change, and I'm not too sure if I'm happy with that. Now, of course, to be fair, it was reported previously in the year that Rumble would not be in Destiny 2, at least at launch. That was the qualifier there. And I always kind of held out hope that Rumble would return in some way, shape, or form in Destiny 2, but it's looking like that's not on the table, at least for right now. According to Lars Bakken, and that bums me out. Rumble was a lot of people's favorite game mode, and I'm definitely sad to see it go. But moving on, they asked, "Right, so it's not something you guys might want to revisit in the future, like we could see 6v6 return, it may be on a larger map?" To which Lars answered, "I think at this point it would be very difficult to go back to those types of experiences, and the reason I say that is because the entire game was created around this 4v4 focus. I wouldn't even know where to start. It's not like we couldn't do it, it's just like there are so many things that are fundamentally reliant upon how the system connects. It would be pretty difficult to do. Sorry that I have to break fans' hearts, but I believe that the experience is so good that I want them to play it and see it for themselves." Again, confirming that 4v4 was the new focus with Destiny 2, and they built most of the PvP game modes or converted the PvP game modes with that in mind. So unfortunately, some of those larger game modes probably aren't going to be returning for Destiny 2, which does bum me out a little bit. I was hoping we'd at least have some sort of 6v6 mode in Rumble, and maybe a game mode like Combined Arms where we could just have a larger team base. But it looks like that might not be the case when it comes to Destiny 2. Next, they talked a bit about the possibilities of esports and a Destiny PTR. By questioning this, you're now on PC, you've got that connection with Blizzard as well. What are the chances of seeing a Destiny 2 PTR in the same way that we've seen with Overwatch, so you guys could try things out before rolling them out? Lars answered, I can say that internally we do that already, of course. Whether we ever decide to do a public one, I'm not sure. There's no way to release a game like Destiny without having played it in a realistic environment, and in order for us to be confident in it and all the systems, we have to play it in a real space. So while we have those things for our development of the game, whether we can ever open them up to the public, I don't know, like maybe, we just don't know. He was also asked about whether or not having a PTR would be beneficial to Destiny, to which he answered, I mean, I'd have to think about it. Obviously the benefits are people would get to see stuff early and we would get feedback on it. But the downside is it's complex enough to run a game like Destiny just with the team that we have, without also running another duplicate version of Destiny that's in the future. It's a lot of work. So it's like, what's the best thing for the game? I don't know. I can't answer that question. It might be that we do something like this in the future, but it also might not be the right thing for Destiny and the extra stress on the team. Now, of course, you guys might know PTRs are very heavily used in other PC games like for Overwatch or The Division, where they allow players to basically play a future patched version of the game to test it out, find bugs, and ultimately fine-tune it before it gets a public release. It's been very helpful for games like that, and thankfully Lars seems like he understands that it could be helpful for Destiny, but ultimately it looks like it's probably not going to be a thing that happens. Moving on, the Daily Star asked, a lot of the changes around the Crucible seem to be about making it more competitive and having a more focused 4v4 game mode. Is there any chance that we could see Destiny 2 in any sort of esports environment? It's certainly more formatted for that scene than what it was before. To which Lars responded, that is a great question. I think Bungie has a long tradition of being active in the competitive realm, starting way back in our previous games in Halo. It's something that we talk about a lot, but I also think the esports scene is really interesting, and I think players choose where they want to spend their time, and they like to choose and support the game that they love. If they decided Destiny is a space that they want to love and prop up in that way, then that's something we think we're interested in. But yes, I don't want to presume that it is from the beginning. Yes, we want to make the game feel more comfortable in a tournament setting. That was one of our goals, but that doesn't mean that we go straight to the World Championships. I wish I could give you a definitive answer more than that, but I think the reality is we want people to feel comfortable there first, and if that's something that they want and we have the ability to support it, then we'd love to support it. But if not, we're just happy to have the game too. Showing there that Bungie is of course interested in kind of turning Destiny into an esport. Certainly I would agree with the premise of the interviewer there that a lot of the changes to the Crucible coming in Destiny 2 have kind of been more focused towards a more competitive environment, and I think that could really lend itself well to a tournament setting, to any of the bigger esports tournament settings that are out there in the world today. And I'm glad to see that Bungie has that in mind, and they're definitely correct when they state that they want to see if the community wants to turn it into an esport rather than attempting to build the game from the ground up as an esport. Things like this definitely work better when they're grassroots and built from the heart and love of the community, so I can definitely agree with that. But alright, that's pretty much it for everything we learned from this Daily Star interview. Again, a lot of really interesting stuff in there. We get a little bit more look at the design philosophy for 4v4 in the Crucible. It was built up from the ground up with that in mind. Definitely bummed to hear that game modes like Clash and Rumble probably won't be returning. Very surprised to see that Rumble itself is not going to be a game mode that comes back. Again, I'm still super bummed about the fact that Rumble's not going to be returning, but that was something we knew beforehand. It was something that was announced a while back, at least that it wouldn't be there at launch. Still bums me out that it's not going to be in the full game. But alright Guardians, that's pretty much it for this one. Be sure to let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more great Destiny news. But alright, we're out for now. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I am TheBlackLink. You Guardians, stay frosty.